Roscoe Hicks with greenhornhunting.com, and we're going to talk about where you can hunt today. So one of the biggest concerns that a lot of people have is when it comes to hunting is access. They worry about stepping on a piece of dirt, being somewhere that they shouldn't be. So today I want to talk about access and understanding some of those places that you can hunt. Now out here in the West, we have a lot of advantages. I live in the state of Idaho, so today I'm going to talk about Idaho more specifically because I grew up here, I know this country pretty well, and I know a lot of places I can hunt. I do know that in some states your hunting access is very limited, and that I'm sorry for you guys, but I want you to know that if you're watching this video, there's a ton of land out here that belongs to you, and I'm inviting you, come to the West and hunt. So let's talk about some of those places you can hunt. One of the first ones is National Forest or U.S. Forest Service land. You'll find U.S. Forest Service land is pretty prevalent anywhere, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, a lot of this area out west here, and we're talking about millions and millions of acres that belong to you guys, the folks that are watching this video. If you live here in the United States, you pay your taxes, that land belongs to you, and that's a whole nother story. I won't get off on that tangent right now, but the reality is that it's your land, and in most cases, as long as there's an access point to it, you have rights to hunt on that land. So that's probably one of the first and easiest places to look for, is land that's owned by the U.S. Forest Service, or should I say owned by the public of the United States. One of the other, it's another land department within the Department of Agriculture, and it's the Bureau of Land Management, or BLM. You'll find BLM land in a lot of areas. Here where I live, for whatever reason, and I don't want to get technical, but it's in a lot of the river drainages, we have a lot of BLM land, the Bureau of Land Management. And that, as well as the Forest Service, is your land to access and utilize because it's owned by the federal government, or owned by the people of the United States is the best way to say that. So those two pieces are pretty easy. Now we get a little trickier. In the state of Idaho, one of the other pieces that we have, and I know it's a little over 3 million acres, is Idaho Department of Lands is the termed owner of the land, and that land is the land belongs to the people of the state of Idaho, and it's managed by a department within the state of Idaho, and here in Idaho we can hunt Idaho Department of Lands property. But I know in other states you can't, because of how those lands are managed by the state. So in the state of Colorado, the land that's owned by the state-owned land, is not public accessible due to the fact that the state of Colorado has leased that property to private individuals, and the people who have access to that are only people who get permission from those individuals who have leased that property. Yeah. That's just the way Colorado does it. In the state of Idaho, it's different, completely different. You can hunt that land just like any other piece of dirt. Another one you'll find is a lot of time the departments, the management departments within a state will own property. Department or Idaho Fish and Game owns land. They've acquired it through purchasing it. People have donated that land to them because they want it locked up to make sure that it's a hunting access. So those lands are accessible to you here in the state of Idaho, and in several other states your land, your fish and game or hunting departments have locked up some properties so that you have access. But then we get into the other land that's owned by individuals. Now these are large corporations. In Idaho we have a lot of land, a lot of timbered land and hunting property or hunting land we'd like to be on, but it's owned by large companies. In Idaho, one is Potlatch Corporation. Potlatch Corporation owns a ton of timbered land. But the really cool thing is Potlatch allows us to hunt on their property. That's cool. But one of the things that they've changed in the last, I'm guessing, please remember I'm guessing, 7 years maybe it's been more, probably 10 years, and I'm just, forgetful. But what they started to do is they started making people pay an access fee in order to be on their land. So if you want to drive on their land and park somewhere on their land, then they charge you an access fee. I know this is pretty, it's become more of a normal for a lot of large timber-owned land by large corporations. And the reality is they're just trying to pay their taxes. And they're not cutting down as much timber on those properties as they used to. So the money that they need or they're using to manage those lands and take care of them comes from the access fee. And then the last one that I'm going to talk about today here in Idaho is private land. Private land is your neighbor's property. Farmer John up here on the hill above me. These guys, it's a piece of land that's owned specifically by a person, an individual, could be by a group of individuals. But you can't hunt that land unless that individual gives you access. Now, how do I know that it's private land? Well, real quickly, I'll share with you. In Idaho, the laws require that that land is posted. One of the reasons I think that is that years and years ago, people used to fence off areas within state land when they used to range their cattle. And so there's a lot of state land out there that there's fences on it and still up today. Well, just because a piece of land has a fence on it does not mean that that piece of land is owned by an individual. It could be state-owned land. So private individuals are required to post their land when it's timbered. Now in Idaho, they also say that if it's cultivated, if it's pretty obvious that somebody is utilizing that land, well then don't be a fool. Don't step foot on it without permission, right? So when you do your research in your state, you're gonna find that there are a lot more places to hunt than you're led to believe. I think that's one of the things that frustrates me so much about new hunters trying to get into this sport, this lifestyle as I call it, is that a lot of people discourage them because they say, oh, well, there's nowhere to hunt. There's lots of places to hunt. There's lots and lots of places to hunt. It may not be in, your backyard, but most states you can find somewhere, that you're able to hunt. And I apologize to those guys out there in advance who are going to tell me, no, you don't know where I live. I gotcha. I'm blessed. I live in the West, right? It's the only thing I know. In fact, it's hard for me to sit in a tree stand all day because there's so much land to hunt. But we'll talk about tree stand hunting on a different day, right? So how do I find all of this information? How do I know that I can be on a piece of land? Well, let me show you guys. You're gonna hear me beat this thing to death. I've got my app out here. It's called Onyx Maps. And if you don't use Onyx Maps and you're a hunter, you're really missing opportunities. Especially when you're hunting in areas where there's a lot of private land and public land mixed up. Because so often there'll be a sign posted, no hunting or no trespassing. Well, the problem with that is that sign is posted on this tree and it says no hunting, and they're right. You can't hunt on that side of the tree, right? The right-hand side. But if you step 4 steps to the left, that's public land. But it will cause you not to hunt there at all because you see a sign, right? Well, the only way you'll know that is by having a good application or a good GPS system that's telling you, no, that's public access, that's public land. And the other great thing about it is with a GPS system, I can walk in the dark and know that I'm where I'm supposed to be. So I don't have to have those landmarks, and I can't, you know, so if I'm trying to get into a tree stand or something like that early in the morning before the sun rises, boy, that GPS system helps me so much. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Let's not let access be the reason that you're not hunting. If you're really struggling, I want to help you find the resources so that you can find a place to hunt. So, as I said, there are a lot of places that you can hunt, a lot of different places you can access. Forest Service land, National U.S. Forest Service land, Bureau of Land Management or BLM land. There's state land in some cases, depending on your state, land owned by the state that's accessible to the people of the state, right? There's land a lot of times owned by your fish and game departments or your hunting organizations, right? There's land owned by large corporations that in a lot of cases you'll have to pay an access fee, but you can get into those areas. And then the last one is land that someone else owns, individuals, or maybe it's a small organization, a group of people, and you can, you know, sometimes you just go repair their fence and they're like, hey, thanks for the help. You have access to hunt my land anytime you want. So those are the things, those are the areas that I want to make sure you know you can hunt. Now, if you're struggling still after that list, maybe you need some pointers. Maybe it's not even access. Maybe it's some other things. There's also an ebook that I put together that is a learning tool. It's a step-by-step for those out there, especially new hunters who are watching this and you're like, I don't know, you know, what to do next. I've created this step-by-step book to help you stay on track with learning how to hunt. Everything from hunter education all the way down to having enough knowledge, experience, and confidence that you can pass this tradition on to someone else. So thanks for watching. Look forward to sharing more of my information and experience with you guys. So as we say here at Greenhorn Hunting, our focus is educating the future hunters of America. Catch you later.